Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We have, looks like camp is going to open on the 29th. Little birdie told me today. So we're about, 12 days away from training camp opening up, first day reporting. This is going to be going quick. Big Ten Media Days are coming up quick. The kids are not going home at all. So they're literally going to be going straight to camp. So vacation's over. It's the end of summer conditioning, which is usually a pretty tough stretch. No more time off, and it is go time for the Buckeyes. So, hey, it's here, and we're going to get into some of the stuff. Nevadabuck had an incredible nugget today on our site talking about how Ohio State plans to use artificial intelligence, AI, going forward as a huge tool and advantage. So really excited to see what this is going to lead to. I think it's going to make football much more efficient for coaches. But it'll be interesting to see who really uses it, grasps it, harnesses the power of it, because I think it could be a humongous advantage if you become really good at it. So we're going to get into all that and take your questions via Super Chats. Again, our Super Chats go towards Pay It Forward. It's a fantastic program. We've signed up a ton of new members. Our site is at an all-time record for subscriptions on BuckeyeScoop.com. So we appreciate you guys being on here, kicking it with us each and every night. Again, this show is absolutely amazing. It's been something that we're very proud of. We go every night, which is something that is very, very rare in this space. We take a few nights off a year, sometimes randomly if we got something pop up, but we try to grind through this thing every night, bring you guys some good content. So we appreciate you guys being on here. It's a huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little bell. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Even if you just listen to it on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you just subscribe to the other ones, it really helps us out. We really appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star review. Those things all really help us, and it's propelled us up the ladder. You guys have helped carry us to be far and away the #1 Ohio State podcast. It's not even close anymore, thanks to the support of you guys. So we appreciate it. So we're going to bring the heat again tonight. As always, I've got my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, you had a very interesting nugget today talking about artificial intelligence, which is it's one of those things where I think the teams that really harness analytics and use it on the playing field during a game, scouting before the game, scouting after the game, scouting recruiting, prospects, using it at football camps. I mean, there's a million tools that you can use this stuff for. I think that the early adopters that really invest in this will get much more efficient. I don't want to say that we're going to have a bunch of Terminators out there, but could get pretty close. What are your thoughts on it? And explain a little bit about some of the stuff you talked about in your nugget.
Well, first of all, artificial intelligence as it's currently configured right now, it's illegal to use it during the game. So you couldn't use it as you couldn't just have some Macedonian bot up there in the box, calling plays and doing, suggesting whatever. So that now could somebody do that? Sure, anything's possible. But would that be against the rules? Yes, that would be against the rules. But in terms of, examining large data sets, basically the first Wiseman is one of our great insiders, is working with Musk's AI company. And, they've been basically working on game theory involving chess and checkers and poker, and there's a Chinese game called Go, which is like a strategy game, and basically got to the point where they can beat the best players in the world, or at least be competitive with the masters. And now they're kind of taking it to more recreational games, and football is obviously one where you've got large data sets. You've got analytics, as you said. You've got various decision trees for certain things that are going on at all times. Look, you could take the analytics down to, should you take an inside rush against this defense or an outside rush, or should you be in a 3-point stance or a 2-point stance? I mean, you can take it down as far as you want to go, and I think AI is going to help teams prepare better, be better, and it'll be interesting to see how Ohio State kind of incorporates AI, mass learning, large data sets into their game planning going forward, because Chip Kelly clearly is an analyst guy. He was one of the earliest analytics guys in football, and was really a guy that embraced it early, was way, way, way ahead of the curve when that started coming down. And artificial intelligence is going to be the next big leap forward from a technological standpoint in terms of football. and Ohio State's going to have a great opportunity to do something with it. It'll be interesting to see how they do it. Now, at the same time, you've got another technological step forward in terms of helmet communications, which is being put forward today, and they the basic view, and I think people have got to understand this. The basic view on this is this is going to help the offenses substantially more than the defenses, because the quarterback is going to be able to be talking directly with the offensive coordinator up to 15 seconds before the snap, and then they'll sign it. It'll get cut off, and then the quarterback can change the play, do whatever it is. So he'll be communicating with everybody on the field in theory. Whereas with the defense, you're only going to be communicating with essentially the middle linebacker, and they're not sure they're going to be able to change calls that quickly as it kind of gets to the thing. So the thought is that helmet communications, while supposed to be helping both sides of the ball, are going to be shaded towards helping the offense. And that's in the practical applications of this. That's what they're finding already. And so I expect offensive play to be better this year. And I think defensive play is going to take a little step back on a macro level. And that should people think about that from a betting standpoint, think about that from a strategy standpoint. But I think technology is going to be impacting the game short term with helmet communications, this year in the here and now, and long term in terms of artificial intelligence. And it'll be interesting to see which schools can embrace it the best, really enhance it and incorporate it in terms of what they're doing at the best, because this is rapidly becoming a game of technology. And with Ohio State, with Chip Kelly, they're really positioned to take full advantage of this. But it's going to be a big learning curve because they've never done it before, and it'll be interesting to see if we can notice the changes in college football, because I think we will, but it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's going to be interesting to see, who adopts some of the analytic stuff, some of the AI stuff. There's a great story. Mark Cuban talked about, the draft where they landed Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic was a young kid, played in the highest level of European basketball, has like a 15-year-old or something crazy like that, and dominated. And the analytics said in that draft, that was a draft that had DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, Trae Young, like a lot of domestic superstars. I mean, DeAndre Ayton was looked as like a, not quite a Greg Oden, but like a 7'1" dominating center, lockdown Joel Embiid type. And, the analytics guys that Mark Cuban, who he was an early adopter, said the only superstar in this entire draft is Luka Doncic. And now you look back at it and you're like, well, yeah, how could you not have noticed that he was the best guy? But, the Atlanta Hawks took Trae Young, or they took Luka, the Mavericks, I believe, took Trae Young. The Hawks took Luka. They swapped the pick. So it was something where it wasn't as apparent, but I think that this will be really interesting to see how they use it in scouting. Because I think that, a lot of these NFL teams are really trending towards getting the analytics done. Now, granted, it's a lot easier to get it with college film, because college film is generally much clearer and easier to get than high school film. But I think that, studying the analytics for prospects and prospecting and making offers, and especially when it comes to projecting, because you're dealing with kids that are frankly, not to be weird, but like they hit puberty at different times. There's some kids that they're late bloomers, and you say, okay, well, this kid has had a growth spurt of 4 inches from the time he was 16 to 17, and it looks like his parents are 6'2", and he can project out to be 6'7", whatever. But there's ways that you can grab that data. And if you could just get a little bit more efficient, in the recruiting realm, especially when you're dealing with projecting guys, prospects, analyzing film, body mechanics, like that's what's going to be really interesting. Because I talked to a separate guy who's a really good friend of mine who he's big in the radar industry, the tracking, the motion industry. That analyzes mechanics of sprinters, horses, football players, basketball players. And they can track that data like in real time to see who's efficient, who's inefficient, how guys could be more efficient. Now, I think that'll be fascinating. And again, Ohio State adopting this is something that's exciting to me, because I think that the teams that really take this data seriously will turn into the forerunners. Now the thing about it is it's very, very expensive to do, and that's why Nevada, you and I were talking about today about, college football and the haves, have-nots. Like Ohio State is a have, and this is something that I think will increase the separation between the have-nots is when you have data, because obviously, it's easy to offer the 5 stars, it's easy to offer David Sanders Jr., whoever. But, when you start figuring out, okay, this 3-star kid has this kind of upside versus this kid's got this kind of upside, and I think that's going to be fascinating, because again, and then when you get into the game stuff, I'm a guy who literally had to broke film down by hand. I'm a guy that literally we're not like in the 70s where they had to use like the old reels like in the old days. But even when we did it, it was slow. You had to manually type in down. We had the interns do down and distance, and then I'd break down the fronts, and then Drew Behringer would break down the coverages, and we'd break down the blitzes together, whatever. But we'd usually separate the games so that we were each working on different ones. But if you get to the point where even AI can just track all of that and break that down automatically, that is a humongous time saver for people. That opens you up to do a lot more work. And honestly, I think it would make it you could potentially, if the software works the way I think it would, break down more film, gather more tendencies. Throw out film like for those of you that and I mean I don't know if any of you have broken film down unless you guys were high school coaches or whatever. Like in general, when Ohio State plays a team, like say they're getting ready to play Akron, they're not going to usually break down every game from last year. They're going to break down teams that have similar offenses. So you usually break down 6. They might do more with Akron just because they've had all off season to do it. But when you get into like the middle of the season, you're playing Michigan State. Like, you don't break them down when they're playing some 5-wide air raid scheme or some triple option Navy scheme. You break down similar offenses. So, but with AI, I think you could do it all and then just kind of splice the film and take the things that are pertinent, which I think will be really interesting to do. So, I think it's fascinating. I think that the way sports science has developed in the last 5 to 10 years has been incredible. And I think in the next 5 years, it'll be even more crazy. Like, even like something like the Monarch machine that Marvin Harrison Jr. is like obsessed with, where you can type in a bunch of like basically a passing script. Like, hey, I'm going to run a 10-yard in, I'm going to run a 9-route vertical, I'm going to run a slant. You can type them in and it'll literally shoot those in the progression that you typed in. That was unheard of 5 years ago. Now, all of the major teams have that machine. So again, it's going to be fascinating to see how much more development comes. And I'm excited about it, because I think anything that can make the kids better, make the coaches better, make the product better, I'm all for it, because I'm all about watching good football as much as possible. Nevada, do you have anything to follow up with that?
Well, I think your point's spot on, that this is just going to enhance the ability of the haves to kind of distance themselves from the have-nots, or the haves from the have just a little bit lesses. But now that they've kind of expanded the coaching staff, and you can have 15 quality control analysts for each player. Whatever you're going to do, putting money into resources like artificial intelligence and large data set gathering and things like that, it's going to pay big dividends. You've seen it in just about every. You see it in stock trading and high velocity trading. You see it obviously in all sorts of military applications. I mean, for years, the whole premise of the movie Top Gun 2 was that AI can't replace the thing of the fighter pilot. The fighter pilot makes split-second decisions, and now they've been doing that that red versus blue fighting fighter pilot stuff with the AI versus the fighter pilots, and the AI is outperforming the fighter pilots now. So AI is amazingly powerful. I mean, it seems like the whole Terminator thing and Skynet. James Cameron was way ahead of his time, so it's a little scary from that standpoint. But before we're destroyed by our evil overlords, let's win some football games using AI, and at least that'll make it worthwhile if we're gonna go out. Let's at least go out as the national champion or something like that. But no, look, somebody's going to embrace it in a big way. And why not Ohio State? I mean, Ohio State does everything the best. You've got Ross Bjork, who's vowing that Ohio State will have the best facilities in the country. So I know that's music to your ears. I know that you're you're skeptical hippo about that because you think that the WAC is kind of was cool for its time, but needs an upgrade. Well, Ross agrees with you, and clearly we've got a staff that's second to none. We've got fan support that's second to none. Well, I think you've got to embrace technology and with that same type of vigor, and I'm confident Ohio State will. And but it's going to change the game, man. It's going to change everything about the game, and helmet communications is the first thing. And watching how people manage that is going to be really, really interesting this year, because those who do it best are going to have a huge advantage over teams that are kind of half arse in it and not really, because you got to practice it. You got to practice getting the things in. You got to practice it because you don't want to overload the quarterback. It's not just shouting at the quarterback everything in the world, because you've got to give the quarterback just enough stuff that he can process. You don't want to give him too many things. It'd be like with a golfer. If a golfer's standing over his ball and you're like shouting out all these swing thoughts, turn your shoulder, extend your arm, keep your wrist flat. Do that. I mean, like, you only want to be able to give them so many different things to think about. And those guys that figure out how to do that first are going to have a huge advantage. And hopefully that's Ohio State.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, the haves and have-nots thing is going to be. You want to talk about crippling the lower levels of football. It's just the point now where it's not even in the same universe. Like when they started passing things like unlimited meals, that's like something that you guys probably don't even think of as such a small thing. That is a humongous expense that didn't exist before at a place like Ohio State. Like they didn't have to feed the football team, breakfast and lunch or just lunch or whatever every day. They do that now. They used to feed us. They used to feed us 3 meals a week. It would be like breakfast on Friday, dinner on like Tuesday, Thursday. Which again, I hated it because the food sucked, and I had to drive from like my apartment like 30 minutes each way to go eat food that I didn't like because you couldn't skip it. I mean, it was like they took attendance, and I missed the breakfast one time, and it was like you would have thought I robbed a bank or something. It was so bad, but I was like, I don't. When you live, like I lived in Hilliard when I was a player, and it's like it's a 30-minute drive to go eat breakfast, and it's like I could eat a bowl of cereal and be just as good and sleep in and be fine. But it is what it is. But the AI thing, for any of you guys that have used AI, or a lot of it, AI photos or whatever, it's all expensive. So like teams like Ohio State and Bama and Georgia, they'll be investing in this stuff, and I think it's going to pay big dividends. I think that anything you can do to make things more efficient, make your coaches smarter. It's gonna be good. Now, and the thing that again we talked about this earlier. Like the thing that's really going to kill these small teams is the infinite coaching thing is going to be crazy because you're going to hire 2 offensive line coaches. Now you'll hire like an O-line coach, then like an assistant O-line coach. Most of the staffs I think are not going to mirror the National Football League, where they've got 2 line coaches. Some have a receiver coach, some have a receiver and an inside receiver coach, some have a full-time OC and then a quarterback coach who's separate, which you could do now, which that might be redundant when you've got Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and I guess we got rid of the one QC. Then on defense, you could have a D tackles coach, D ends coach, linebackers coach, corners coach, safeties coach, walk around D coordinator. I mean, that just blows us out. Then you actually could have a special teams coordinator, like get a real one in here that actually knows what he's doing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And Akron can't afford to do that. They can't afford to have. I mean, not at the going rate that Ohio State can. Like they can't hire a second line coach and pay him $300,000 to be line coach number 2 or whatever. So it's going to be really it's going to be fascinating. Like I said, the camp looks like it opens up on the 20th. I was checking around today, and yeah, I was like, these guys get to go home. Nope, they're going straight to camp, baby. And they're going to be grinding these kids a little bit. They got a little loose last year in camp. Like the kids were sneaking out a lot and going home. And I think that's over, which I think it's great because, these kids, they got to embrace, kind of being the discomfort that comes in. And they're not uncomfortable. They stay at the Hyatt Place in Grandview, which is a great hotel. It's beautiful. So I mean, like, it's like the hotel we stayed at sucked. It was a dump. And again, like that was probably the worst part of our campus that we stayed in such a bad hotel. It used to be the University Plaza, which is down by where the Roosters is on Olentangy, and It's a really nice Marriott, but it was a dump back in the day. But yeah, I think they're gonna crack these kids a little bit this year. So I'm excited about it. I think that, and I'm not trying to be we're gonna be extra tough on them in camp this year, but they've turned it up a little bit, the summer conditioning. They do a lot of really, really tough stuff. They do these assault bike drills where they put these guys on these bikes, man, and they just absolutely kill them. If you guys have ever used the Rogue bike, that thing is no joke. They do these races and these intervals, man, and these guys are laying on the ground like dead dogs when they're done. So that's good. I think Mick's doing a good job of making it up. I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to run them to death in the summer, because that's the only way you can get in shape for football is you have to run a lot. You can't ride the bike or do the Stairmaster. You got to get outside and run on that hot turf and get your body ready for it. But a lot of sled pushes, a lot of bikes, and a lot of wind sprints. So I think the guys are going to be in ripper shape. The guys feel good, and these guys these guys do live the dream though, because they get to play a lot of golf because they don't have to go to class anymore. They go to online class. So life is good in modern time Buckeye land. Nevada, any thoughts? And we're going to roll into these super chats.
Well, July 29th, is that unusually early? I mean, I was thinking August 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
It's a little early. I mean, most of the time you report on like the 5th, but usually it coincides with the first game. So I think it's maybe a little bit early, but again, I don't think it's like, I mean, honestly, it might be the earliest that we've ever reported. Now, again, this is just what I was told. It might change. It might be different, but, I was like, whew, that is early. That's the worst day of the year, man. When you're these kids, man, you get a report, and it's not as bad as it used to be back in the old days. Cause like with Tress, and again, everybody thinks Tress is Mr. Rogers, man. He was diabolical, because the day we checked in for camp, we had to do paperwork for like 7 hours. We did compliance meetings. It was like terrible, physicals. And then the next morning at 5 a.m., we ran the conditioning test, and our conditioning test sucked. It was so hard. Guys, it was the worst day of the year because guys had anxiety attacks getting ready to run that thing. You had to run 20 half gassers. A half gasser is the width of the field down and back, and you had a 30-second rest in between each sprint. The big fat guys like me got 20 seconds. The medium-sized guys, the linebackers, got 18 seconds, and the little guys like Ted Ginn got 16 seconds. So for us big fat guys, that was the worst day of the year by far. But figure out who ran all summer and who ran a little bit more to make sure that they made it, because it was it sucked. So trust, and we did it. It was funny when people ask me if I like grass or turf better for a conditioning test. Oh my god, turf all day, every day. It's so much faster, and the lines are accurate, because we'd go run in the stadium on a grass field with no lines. And you'd have these coaches like pace off the 50 whatever yards, 52 yards, whatever the width of a field is. And I swear to God, these guys couldn't count, because it was like this is just like a 70 yards across. It's like we're running like all the way across the field to where the little outlet, the little steps are to go up into double A deck. So, but yeah, I like turf forever and ever. Anything to add to that? And we'll dig into some super chats.
No, I think that's pretty spot on. So let's get to the super chats.
All right, Nevada Buck Nuts. Again, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being an Ultra member. So I say Auburn is tweaking about still landing Naheem Alford. Is that still a thing? I mean, I don't know. These kids are going to take visits, and a lot of these kids love the process. It's like their favorite thing in the world, and they like being adulated, I guess. So I think, are these kids going to snoop around? Sure. Am I worried if we lose the kid? No. Do I think we're going to get the kid? Yes. So that's my final answer. Nevada, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've talked to people really close to Naeem, and you're not getting any vibes that this guy is leaving. And there was a thing that was put out the other day. Some guy wrote an article about that, and Naeem went right after him on Twitter, basically saying, you can just put anything on the internet. There's zero truth to it. So, if he's saying that, and then he's going to dog Ohio State and ditch him at the last minute, look, anything can happen, but I'm not getting any of those vibes at all. and he's been one of the most stalwart guys. Always been resolute. That he's 100% committed to Ohio State. Been a tireless worker, recruiting other guys to Ohio State. So could he swerve? Sure. Do I think he's going to swerve? No. Is he saying he's not going to swerve? Yeah, he's coming right out, and he's going after people that are saying it. So I'm riding with Neem on it. I think he'll be a Buckeye.
I do too. And these kids love, they love, whatever. It's fine. I mean, they could shut it down if they want to, but if they want to go visit, that's fine. Go make sure that you do what you want to do. Blue Wolverine, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. My friend Stallions is receiving Elon's Starlink chip implant and will be Michigan's AI. Whew, I don't know if he's allowed around anymore, but I mean, that would be a thing. I wonder what he's up to now. He's kind of like, him and Mike Hart just got sent into the gulag. I mean, they had to like pay the ultimate price, I guess. They got sent behind the wall, I think, Nevada. But your thoughts? Your boy Connor Stalions getting Starlink. I mean, he already had the Google glasses or the Ray-Ban glasses or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of Michigan guys going into witness protection. You got that Matt Weiss guy. You got Mike Hart. You got Connor Stalions. I mean, like, yeah, they got more guys in witness protection than the Banano family. You know what I'm saying, like that. So I don't know if it's going to be Starlink, but it's more like who was the one that needed a brain, and was that the Tin Man or Tin Man needed a heart, or the thing, or the Wizard of Oz? Connor Stallions definitely needed a brain, because I know that people like to put him as just like this evil genius that came up with this plan, but this was really a simple plan that was executed wide out there, right out in the open, and they didn't do a very good job of covering their tracks, that's for sure. So, yeah, Connor, someday he'll emerge. He'll write a book, or he'll do something, some silly thing. It's 2024, so anything goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Has anybody heard from Mike Hart? I mean, he was the running backs coach on the national champions last year, and I haven't heard him. He landed somewhere. I haven't seen it. Treasure the Toro, what's up, Akeem? Hope you're doing good, brother. Thanks for being ultra member. Thanks for being a wrench, as always. Thanks for 20. Kirk, my dude, it's good to see you smile. Also to my brother Nevada, real recognize real. So I was harassing Kirk. You didn't harass us. You called us. I called Kirk and Devin earlier today. They're both grumpy though. Love and respect to the chat. I mean, come on, Nevada. Like, of all the people to laugh, like, I mean, we've, we're going through a tech change, which I think is going to be fantastic when we get to the other side of it. But there's always hiccups and burps when you're doing a tech change. So we've been grinding through that all day, because there's always a little bit of elbow grease that has to go into flipping over. But I think it looks fantastic. I think the front page is great. I think you guys are going to love some of the new content we're going to generate on it. So yeah, but it's been busy. We've been putting in a lot of late hours, and I also it's my kid's birthday today, so he turned 7. Shout out to little Kirky for turning 7 today. Wow. He's taking my office, so this is my last podcast in my office that I've had. So that's going to become his bedroom, because we have a third kid coming in about a month. So I get relegated to the basement, where there's going to be the new home for the podcast. So yeah, it's been a busy little stretch on top of everything else. But it's good. Like, I like being busy. It's great for me, and it's how I like to be. So his other thing is, I mean, Devin was the one that he was grumpy because it was raining in Florida, because it rains in Florida every day, and he couldn't golf. So golf is about the furthest thing from my stratosphere at this point. But I will say Devin, who is a new BuckeyeScoop.com member in the last few months, is he started a great thread about planning for retirement. And again, this is the thing about BuckeyeScoop.com. It's not just talking about how fast Jerry J. Smith runs and Will Howard, what he ate for breakfast and stuff like that. It's like, there's some really good advice in there, including my advice that, if you're talking about planning for retirement, 2 words: Dagestan Poppy. That's what I'm talking about, baby. you want to build that retirement fund, baby. Dagestan Poppy. He's on a heater. You could probably retire today, actually. At this point,
yeah,
what happened on Saturday? Did that guy was that his guy? He got no contest. Is that what that was?
Okay. Now this is one of the worst ones. I won't spend too much time, but I gotta say this. So before the fight, Dagestan Poppy's like, "Look, this is what's going to happen. This guy Cody Brundage does not want to fight. Does not want to be in there. He's going to shoot a lazy single leg. This guy's going to pound him in the side of the head, and Brundage is going to quit. That is what's exact. Literally, this is what he says. He goes on his Twitter Spaces, goes up there, says the thing. So what does Brundage do? Brundage shoots a lazy single leg, and this guy's pounding him on that. He literally like almost flatlines the guy, and he brushes the back of his head. And so Brundage, for the second time in 4 fights, taps out and claims that an illegal strike had to stop it. So he's not a first time offender. This is a multiple offenders for Cody Brundage. He can't continue now because of this, and they declared a no contest. Because he was just getting absolutely demolished. This was a minus 140 guy that we had that was just killing him. So Dagestan Poppy was despondent over that spot. But I said, hey, look, you got to remember, it could have been worse. You could have been DQ'd, and then that would have been the worst thing. That would have been worse, very worse. But no, he had it too. But he had the fight so completely. I mean, he literally said exactly what was going to happen, which was crazy. And Brundage quit again. So if you're betting Cody Brundage, man, we're going to be fading every time Cody Brundage fights from now on. We're fading Cody Brundage. So
I love it. That is so good.
Yes.
I appreciate you, Tori. Thanks for the call today, man. I'm sorry I was in the middle of getting stuff fixed. So, and Nevada has been with me in lockstep. We're the talent, man. But you gotta remember when you own the thing, man, you're doing everything, man. It's not like we just show up and do the podcast and go take a nap and watch Jeopardy. Like we gotta we're always working and fixing stuff.
Always.
And again, that's fine. It's the life we chose. But again, it's a little bit of work. Karis, Washington, I hope you and Beth are having a great night. Thank you for the 10. Thank you for being an Ultra member as well. This is for Tora, who thought I missed him. How could he ever miss you? To my family, how much love and respect. Oh, and last night's chat was supposed to say, you can't leave yet, Nevada OH. I know. I never am allowed to leave, so I might as well stay here in front of this microphone for the rest of the rest of eternity. But I like I said, I love doing this show, so I don't care. I mean, this is something that we're gonna be rolling into this season, man. This season is about to be awesome. I can't believe that practice is about to start. I mean, it's like you'll blink and it'll be at the Oregon game. You'll blink again. You'll be at the Michigan game. And I mean, this is going to be one of those magical seasons where you hope time slows down. You can really enjoy it, but it won't. So again, BuckeyeScoop.com is where you guys need to be. You guys are on here each and every night. We have a pretty good nugget tomorrow. So we've got a lot of good intel on what's been going on in the team. Got a good handle on everything. But yeah, I'm excited. Nevada, I don't know if I've ever been, since I've been a player, I don't know if I've ever been this excited, for a season, because this is a year where I think that the amount of damage that we could potentially do is going to be absolutely crazy. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's like you always look in college football. Like last year, I thought was an interesting year, and we said it before the year, there was no super team. There were no great teams. It was a really down year. There's a lot of very similar teams. And that's why a mediocre team like Michigan could end up winning the national championship. And this year, this is the year of the super team, and we're it. And that's what makes it so exciting is that we've got the Ferrari, we've got a team with almost no weaknesses, unbelievable depth, great coaching experience, stability. We've got it all there, and we're gonna to have that at the same time as the expanded playoff is just magical, because the quality of games that we're going to be seeing, especially down the stretch, is unlike anything that any Ohio State team's ever faced before, and we get to do it with maybe the best team on paper in school history. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I obviously never had the thrill of playing like you did at Ohio State, but this is the most excited I've ever been heading into a season, probably since I'd say maybe 98. I mean, and this definitely surpasses that, but that's the last time that I felt like we had a super team. Came up a little short that year. In an expanded playoff, we wouldn't have. So I think, this is the year that it all comes together for Ohio State, and camp starts in 2 weeks. So let's go.
Yeah, so I got a funny story. I was going through my archives because I was looking for some photos of my kid, and I found this random photo. Hang on, let me click this thing in here real quick. Uh, you're gonna laugh at this. For sure. I just know you are. So, Big Ten Media Day. Big Ten Media Day. In '07, they had this commercial shoot. So each team had one nominee of a commercial. So of course, for whatever reason, they put like James's jersey up in the background instead of mine. But they shoot this like video, and it was actually hilarious because they played it every game, and it was kind of cornballish. But again, that's the Big Ten. Like we're not real astute. But this is literally like at this photo shoot. This is the only time in my entire life that I ever wore eye black. I didn't even know how to do it. I was like, I don't even know what this stuff's for. Like, I mean, obviously, like we got to put on eye black for the shoot, and I'm like, I've never worn eye black. I'll never wear eye black. I don't need eye black. Like, I'm an offensive tackle. Like, I don't like. There's no reason for it. It's not my look. Whatever. But yeah, this was. I was kind of just thinking about talking through Media Day because it's coming up. The SEC Media Day is going on right now, and it's hilarious because Nick Saban's an analyst now, so he gets to make predictions, and I don't think he picked I don't think he picked Bama to win the SEC or something. So the players were asked about it, and like honestly, I think if you're Nick Saban, like if I was Nick Saban, if I was in his shoes and I was an analyst for ESPN, I would never pick Bama to win because I think it'd be a great way to motivate him, and I think it takes some of the heat off of him. Like I would pick Texas, and I'd pick Georgia, and I'd pick every other team in the universe. As like a way to like motivate and keep some of the pressure off. Because like when everyone picks you, I think it's really hard. Like so at our media day, we were picked to finish. I think we were picked to finish third in like our division or something. And mind you, we just lost to Florida, so everyone thought we were going to suck. Michigan was picked unanimously to win the thing, and this is when they had like the leaders and the legends or whatever dumb division thing we had, and we were picked to be third in the Big Ten, and I'm like. We just ran through the Big Ten last year, and we've owned the Big Ten really since '02. But it was a very disrespectful experience. And again, I don't care because like I don't need motivation. Like I'm highly motivated. I don't need somebody to like slight me or some newspaper guy or some poll from the beat writers because they're all idiots anyways. If you worry about what they think, you're already going to lose. But when they picked us third, and then, like I said, the funniest story of all time from Media Day was that Jim Tressel, who's the most mild-mannered human being I've ever been around, but he's a killer when he wants to be. He was so mad on our flight home because Pat Fitzgerald called us out, and I'll never forget that. And I remember, like, we're on this plane. The Carpenter twins, who are two great Ohio State donors, donate their plane so that we can actually fly and be cool. So it was me, Marcus Freeman, and Vernon Golson were the three delegates that got to go over there for Big Ten Media Day. And Big Ten Media Day it used to be in Chicago, which Chicago is a phenomenal city. It's awesome. It's a blast. And I had a friend who was my friend's dad who lived in Chicago, and Glenn Berman, if you're listening, you're the man for this. He took me to a Cubs game. And then he took me to Gibson's afterwards. And I didn't know anything about Chicago other than it was, where the Bulls and Blackhawks played. So I got like the greatest Chicago experience ever because I could go to Wrigley Field, watch a night game. It was like disco night. So there's like all these hot chicks everywhere in disco gear. And then we got to go to Gibson's and eat like a huge steak. So I had a great Big Ten Media Day. But like, during the day, you have to do this like gauntlet of media stuff, which is boring. I had to do that dumb photo shoot, which was boring. That night was great. Came home the next morning, and we had like another round of media interviews, Radio Row, whatever. And then we had this banquet. And at this banquet, you're in this banquet, and every team, obviously, every coach is there from the Big Ten. Every delegate, all the delegates are kind of spread out. So it's not like it's just the Ohio State table and the Michigan table. They spread you out because, a lot of people want to see the Ohio State delegates. They don't want to see Northwestern or Illinois or the worthless programs in the Big Ten. They want to see the big dogs. So we're spread out. We're sitting there, and each coach goes up and gives like a little 5-minute overview of the season and what they expect, and we're excited to be here and can't wait. And Pat Fitzgerald gets up, and again, I thought this was innocuous, but obviously Jim Tressel did not. But he's like, we're real excited, and we're going to take over, and we can't wait to open up the season. Big Ten play this year in the Horseshoe at Ohio State. We can't wait to see the Buckeyes. And I was like, okay, like whatever, great. Can't wait to see you guys either. We're going to beat you guys by, we're going to beat the Christ out of you guys and send you guys home, whatever. And Northwestern picking on us is like the dumbest thing of all time. So we get on that plane, man, and Tress is like furious. And I love Jim Tressel. Like he's like a dad. He's like a dad to me. And I felt bad because I didn't pick up what Pat Fitzgerald was putting down, that I was supposed to be all bothered about it. Because for one, that wasn't like our opener. Like we opened with Youngstown State, and then we played Washington. So Northwestern was 5 games away. So I don't care about any game that's that far out. I care about the first game, and that's it. Maybe the second game, when we get to the fourth quarter and I'm cutting my tape off and I'm done, I get to chill for a little bit. But Tress was so angry. So man, we go into that week, man, and he is furious, and he let us know about it, and he let us know, hey, this guy called you guys out. And again, mind you, we beat the tar out of him the year before. So this wasn't like it was some close game. The year before against Illinois, we sucked, and then Illinois ended up beating us in 2007. But, Northwestern, we beat like a rented mule, in 2006. And so we get to this game in 2007. And honest to God, it was my favorite game of all time because we beat those guys. We beat them, I think, 59-7 or 59. It might have been 59-0. But we just absolutely destroyed those guys. And again, you got to remember, we were the old covered wagon. We were running power and ISO, and we didn't have Troy Smith and Ted and Gonzo, and we were running the ball over him. And I think we took him deep a few times, but we weren't anywhere near the aerial attack that we were in 06 or 05. But it was glorious because Tress was so happy after that game because he got us all jazzed up over a game that it's like beating up on a a little kid or something. It doesn't really make sense when you're playing Northwestern, but it worked, and he was all jazzed up, and we get that nice win. So that was my favorite part about Media Day. Now Media Day sucks because they moved it, for whatever reason, they moved it to Indianapolis, which is, the most boring town in the universe. But hey, I mean, whatever the Big Ten wants to do, I don't know why you'd move it out of Chicago. Chicago's awesome. That's just my opinion. Nevada, do you have any, do you like Media Day? Do you care about Media Day? Do you even know that Media Day exists?
I mean, I know it exists, but I have to say that I don't care. But I wish that I had known that Trust was so fired up before that Northwestern game, so I could have bet the house on Ohio State. So maybe I got to start paying more close attention to the Media Day for any slights. That didn't sound like a very big slight, though, man. It seemed like that seemed like a pretty innocuous throwaway comment there by Pat. Who knew that Tressel was going to take it that personally?
I felt like an idiot because I didn't catch it. I mean, I was sitting there. I listened to all the coaches. I mean, I listened to, Joe Tiller and whoever else, and Lloyd Carr, and they all get up there because, none of them say anything. That's the thing. You know what the best part about Media Day is for me? By far, the best part about Media Day is I never have to go again. It's the dumbest two-day waste of time in the history of mankind. It is so stupid. It's such a waste of, you go there, you listen to a bunch of coaches that don't say anything, then a bunch of players that don't say anything, and then you're done. And you're like, wow, I just wasted 2 days of my life listening to a bunch of people who don't want to talk to me, say a bunch of stuff that's not interesting, and hooray. This is so stupid. I was like, you could do it in my world. If you can do it on a conference call or a Zoom call, God bless you. Just do that. Make the kids available on a conference call, and these idiots can ask these stupid questions well, what's your motivation this year? Or how good are you going to be? Or who do you think is going to be the quarterback? Whatever. Because the kids now are so trained up because every one of these schools, they hire a media agency and they come in and they role play and, hey, this is how you should answer it. And what if they try to ask you something provocative and this is how you deflect it to the coach? And I remember when those people used to come in, I was like, man, I hate you guys because I want to say funny stuff and I want to say good stuff. And I want to give some insight. I mean, God bless. There's nothing that's worse than just listening to pablum and boring, and no insight and just vanilla pudding. That's what most of the stuff is. Just vanilla. Here's your vanilla pudding. Enjoy it. I'm just like, I am not about that life. Because man, you get me on that mic, man, I'm gonna be lit, and I'm gonna say something funny, and I'm gonna give you guys a quote, and you guys are gonna like it. And again, that was like something that was like, one of my signatures when I was a player is like, I didn't say anything like crazy, but I'd at least give them something funny or something insightful instead of just like pablum and boredom. Because I'm telling you, man, like some of the stuff I would read, I'd be like, can you at least give these poor media people something instead of these boring, stupid answers? But again, that's what it is these media days, man. I see they get these big productions. The SEC's got these jumbotrons with the logos behind them, and I'm just like, and these kids get out, the Quinn Ewers gets up there, and I love Quinn. It's like they get up there and they say just nothing, big nothing burger, and I've worked really hard all off season, and we're really tight as a group, and we focus, and we really worked hard, and we feel like we got to have a good camp, and we've had a tough summer, and coach has been really good, and we've been working out extra, and just working really hard, and oh my god, like kill me now. But that's what it is now. Like you're not allowed to have a personality, and that's why, like I said, I miss Urban Meyer, because Urban's press conferences were the best, man, because he didn't care. He was like, I'm gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna let it rip a little bit, and I think that adds a lot of flavor to listening to those things, because now it's just like, oh my god, like people they go to these things, and I'm just like, Ryan, I was like, I wish that Ryan Day would just come out and say, you know what, I hate you guys. I wish I didn't have to do this, but I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like that would be the greatest thing of all time. I'd say Ryan Day they should name the stadium after him if he'd come out and just say what he really feels. But I digress. Nevada, any other thoughts? We can keep pretty close. We got about another 10 or so to go. We get into camp, man. I think that the biggest battle is going to be that right side of the offensive line. I mean, I think that between Luke Montgomery, Carson Hinsman, George Fitzpatrick, Tigra, one of those guys has to win the race as the right guard or right tackle. That's going to be fascinating to me. I think that the defense is going to be nasty, but it'll be interesting to see how they all gel and play together, because there are some guys that were dinged up during spring ball, so they haven't really played as a full functioning group yet. Plus, guys are limited, but I think some of these guys are going to be rolling. Oh, we got another super chat. D Sunny, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. Oh, I have not heard this. Thank you for the 5, D Sunny, my dude. Speaking of gambling, a baseball player on TV allegedly was connected to sports gambling. How much do major sports control media narratives? Ooh, I have not heard that. Nevada, have you heard anything about a baseball player on TV allegedly being connected to sports gambling? I mean, I've seen guys. Go ahead.
No, I haven't, but I don't know if that's breaking or if that's what to what length that is. But I hadn't heard that today, but that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you had that NBA player get banned for life for placing player props against himself. $80,000 player props, which is just the dumbest caper.
Oh my god!
I mean, you know yourself. If you're betting, like if you bet like a $2,000 player prop, that's going to get some attention. Somebody's going to pay attention to that. $80,000 on a player prop. And yeah, that was. I think they thought they had the money machine, and that was not the money machine.
Well, I mean, U.S. integrity tracks everything, and if there's some crazy number that comes in on something like that, hey, over under 7 rebounds or 5 rebounds or whatever, and the ball comes to you, you just throw your hands up and don't grab it. It's like what? Like I mean, these guys are so stupid. I mean, I feel.
Well, Porter just kept pulling himself out of games. He'd say he had migraines or whatever it was. He'd done it, before on that, because that way he doesn't have to. He just has to play a minute, pull himself out of the game with an injury.
That counts.
And all of a sudden he goes under on all the bets, and he doesn't have to really hurt the team. So in his mind, he's kind of rationalizing as, hey, I don't have to put my hands up and miss the rebound or miss the shot I'm just taking myself out and somebody else is going to play, no harm, no foul, and I make some money. And that was not a great plan, guy. He didn't think this thing out very well. I can tell you that.
I'm just I'm trying to find what you're talking about because there's I just think that with these with the prevalence of this now, I mean it is just you're going to see guys get banned at all levels, like college football, basketball, NFL. I mean like Nick Petit-Frere, who I love to death, got banned for 6 games last year for doing like baseball betting in the locker room or something, which is like, I mean, it's not the brightest thing in the world, but whatever. I mean, it's his money. And it's like, if he somehow would have done it outside of the team facility, that is legal. But if if you're inside the geofence one Titans place or other facility, is like that's a violation. And I was like, I mean, 6 games. I mean, that's you get your game checks are divided up. I think they actually cut them up to like 45 weeks now, but they used to be 18 games. So if you miss 6 games, man, I mean, you're losing a third of your salary for the year. And again, these guys are making, a couple million, but you're losing $800,000 for, placing some parlay on, a Tuesday in the off season. So that's an expensive parlay. But no, I just,
But Kirk, think about the player prompts where, they're performance based. So if you're a wide receiver at, say, Ohio State, and the over-under on your receptions is 5, and you're playing Akron or whatever it is, and you're like, I've got a little bum ankle. I really don't want to. All I got to do is go out there, play one play, and then pull myself out, to rest myself for the next week, and I go under. I mean, man, U.S. Integrity is going to have their hands full because gambling is everywhere now. It used to be you had to have a bookie. You had to go to Vegas or whatever it is. But now, man, everybody's got it on their phones. And those player props are the ones that are scary because those are the easiest ones to manipulate because you're not having to manipulate 22 guys or 44 guys or whatever. You're manipulating one guy, just one guy, and have himself pull himself out of a game early. And it's going to happen. I don't know who it's going to happen to or when, but it's going to happen for sure. And all I can say to those players is don't do it because you're going to get caught.
Well, I mean, the thing to do is to say that you got a concussion. Because a concussion is something you can't see it. It's not like a sprained ankle or torn ACL. Like a concussion, I mean, the concussion is the worst injury in sports because, like when you're a player and you get a concussion, I had a really bad one in 06, and I didn't miss any time, but I had a bad one, and Laurinaitis gave it to me, and it was, he blitzed, he lowered the crown of his head right into my chin, knocked me into next week, and I love James to death, so he was just playing hard. It wasn't like anything nasty or dirty or anything. It's just football. But man, I was gone. And like, I remember the next play, I got in my stance, man. I about fell down. I couldn't even get on my stance. I was so dizzy. So then after that, I was out. I was out literally for the next 4 days. It was like a Tuesday practice. I missed Wednesday, Thursday. Then I played Saturday. It was actually against Northwestern in 06. I'll never forget that. But I mean, with the concussion, man, if you got one, man, these doctors have to hold you. They can't put you back in. I mean, because, if you get second impact syndrome, you get hit again, like the liability is too rich. Like the head trauma thing is the big one. So if you're like, trying to break your player prop, I mean, you go make one catch, then, grab your head, and then they take your helmet from you, then you're straight. Because like, what are you supposed to do? Like, hey, I'm dinged up. And, we've seen like Braxton Miller, he left the field in an ambulance against Purdue, and they ran every scan known to man on him that night. They ran every scan known to man. They couldn't find a single thing wrong with Braxton. I'm like, he left in an ambulance. Like they didn't find anything wrong with him. It's like, what if that's your player prop? It's like, oh, Braxton Miller over 250, and the ambulance comes on the field like it's Madden 92 on Genesis, and there's nothing wrong with him. D. Sunny followed this up, Nevada. He said Ohtani. But the rumor is that Major League Baseball made it go away because he's a star. I'm more asking, does sports make stories go away if it's a star? Well, I mean, Michael Jordan had the gambling stuff. He grew up pre-TMZ, pre-social media, pre-everything. So I think, and again, I love Michael Jordan, but I couldn't imagine what his life would have been like if he had social media. But yeah, I'm sure that the media, I'm sure that these overlords of these huge organizations, the NFL, Major League Baseball, I'm sure they flex their muscle if there's something that they want to be I guess, vanquished. If there's some story that they don't want out there because it doesn't make them look great. And again, to that, I don't think that's too big of a stretch. I mean, you've dealt with Major League Baseball, you've dealt with the NFL. They don't want certain things out there that, protect the shield is their big mantra. If it makes the shield look bad, man, they're going to try to do everything they can to suppress it. Do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think they're certainly desirous of that. I think it's harder and harder and harder to do when everybody's got a blog, everybody's got a Twitter account. You put stuff out. I mean, when the Otani thing broke, my first thought was he had to be involved. And the more I've read on it, the more I've seen things, and you see like they released all the email logs, or excuse me, the text message logs between the guy that was impersonating him and the bookies, and it definitely reads like Otani didn't know. I mean, it really does, and that was not my thought when it started. So so while I agree with you, I think the NFL definitely wants to protect the shield, and same thing with Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, etc. But man, it's hard to do because everybody wants to be the one. You break one story, and that can make you go viral and make you famous. And I think if somebody could break the story that Otani was gambling, somebody would do it, and they wouldn't care that Major League Baseball wanted that sat on, because that would make them the Woodward and Bernstein of sports journalism, and that's what everybody wants to do in 2024.
Well, I think the difference between back then and now is YouTube. I mean, nobody has jurisdiction over us except us. We don't want credentials. We don't want to, and nobody gets to say what we get to say. All because that lets us tell the truth. We don't have to feed you guys narratives or crap because we want to tell you what's really going on. And again, I think that in the olden days where all you had was CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, whatever, your 8 channels that you had on your old TV, 40 years ago, it was way harder to do that. Now it's like, I mean, dude, the medium is, you can make it whatever. You can get on Twitter, you can get on, or X, whatever you're going to call it. You can get on Instagram, get on YouTube, TikTok. I mean, there's a million ways to spread news. And again, I think that's something where I think the thing that you said that was the most accurate thing of all time is that, if you break one of those stories, you're like a made man. You're a viral superstar, and all of a sudden people are going to pay attention to you. So, it's a tightrope act. I think that the leagues want to protect themselves, but I also think at the same time there's a lot of if you have a story and you've got it nailed and you got it sourced, and you go with it, then that's cred for ever. I broke.
But Kirk, or you can just go the Sir Yacht route and just throw up a bunch of garbage.
Everything.
Just say everything, and then just hope something comes and has some relation to something to the truth, and claim victory. And that's why the internet and social media and everything is such a mess right now. And you'll see stuff. Stories will get put out. And, people ask us on our board all the time, hey, Nevada, what do you think about this story about expansion, about Florida State and Clemson? I'm like, look, this story isn't going to break with somebody who's got 324 followers on Twitter. But you can put anything you want out there for the consumption of the entire world, regardless of the veracity. And, that's out there. So while it's easier to break information, it's harder to determine who's legitimate than it's ever been before. And that is an art form in and of itself.
Yeah, it really is. It's the truth. Well, on a lighter note, I am gonna throw this up because I thought this was hilarious. My boy Brandon Ennis, South Florida Express boy, he got his photo that he took and put on his Instagram is now the headline on an ESPN article that talks about guys reacting to their ratings. So Brandon obviously plays on rookie mode. He played against Michigan. He beat Michigan by like 100 points. He had 24 catches for 520 yards and 10 touchdowns. So my boy rookie mode was dominating. That's definitely not on Heisman. But yeah, it's so funny. These kids are like obsessed with this game because they're in it now. So all of the Brandon Ennis here's Brandon beating Michigan 91-7 16. Like we had a bunch of our kids posted these screenshots, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But hey, I mean that's the mentality, man. I mean, I'm actually happy that like these kids, they feel like they need to get revenge. I mean, I'm sure that they'll do it in real life, but this is kind of funny, isn't it, Nevada? And this is kind of the last little kickoff before we get into real football is this the virtual game getting released.
Well, give me a grade on the virtual game on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh God, it's a 4, maybe a 5.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. It's good. The good is that it's got Ohio State on it. The bad is it's very bare bones. Like you can't edit players, can't create a player, you can't create a school, can't do anything. So I mean, like, and the defense is just absolutely it's like horrifically bad. So it's like the most one-sided game where, if you just hit up, you're probably going to get 9-10 yards. Ohio State is a wrecking ball in the game. I don't know if you guys have played it, but the two tailbacks, when you have Travion and Quinchard, you have two of the top like 5 tailbacks in the entire game on the same team. And I run those guys into the dust. I mean, they're dust by the end of my games because they both get about 20 carries. And then JJ Smith, if you guys go 5 wide receivers, shotgun, and do the jet sweep, you can run it to, if you go from right to left, you hand it, you touch pass it to JJ, who's got 94 speed. If you go from left to right, you touch pass it to Travion. So Trey Henderson gets it. So I go back and forth with those guys. So they both have like 10 catches each a game, all on touch passes that are an inch away from the quarterback. And Will Howard throws for 350 yards a game off touch passes. Because when you do a jet sweep with JJ Smith on the game, it's illegal. It's crazy because he's so fast, he's so big, and the defenses just suck. They take terrible angles. They're just completely clueless. So it's like big play a palooza, which is why you see Brandon getting 500 yards in one game with his guy, and his guy's good, but his guy's like like an 85 maybe. So JJ I think is like an 84. Actually, Brandon might be like lower. He might be an 82, 83. And Mecca's like a 93, but JJ's the fastest receiver we have. He's tied with Jaden Ballard. So he's an absolute unit in that game. So Caleb Downs is really good, but it's kind of sketchy because, at the end of the year, like Caleb Downs wants to transfer. And I'm like, well, we just won the national titles. Like, but they always have guys that are like ready to transfer at the end of the year and because they don't like the scheme or they weren't featured. And I think that needs to get toned down a little bit, but I don't know. The Michigan guy made the game. The head producer for the game is a Michigan guy. So that kind of sucks because like I feel like every time you simulate a year with Ohio State, they lose to Michigan or like 90% of the time, like they lose to Michigan this year. So I don't think that that's some cosmic accident that Michigan magically beats Ohio State when there's no reason that they should. But when the guy that made the game is a Michigan guy, like I don't put anything past him because he's a scumbag. So yeah, there's my review. I give it a 5 out of 10. I wish I could be honest and give it higher, but the 2014 game was better than this because it had a million more features that made it way more fun. So there's my review.
Now, I heard Caleb Downs. I talked to Dagestan Poppy who's playing it, and he told me that Caleb Downs is like a cheat code. That Caleb Downs is like so big and it's like it just like intercepts every pass and everything like that. Is that
he's
true?
Awesome. He's awesome. He's 95. Yeah, he's awesome. Okay. I will say that the thing that sucks about it is that you've got JT opted out and Josh Simmons opted out, and it's like so those guys. In the olden days, like, Michael Jordan wasn't in basketball games for like 10 straight years. So the Chicago Bulls on like the old NBA live games would just have a guy named roster guard, but he would be like a 99 overall. So it would kind of like take his place. It'd be like roster guard number 99, but he was at least as good as Jordan. Like with this one, they put in like a random white guy and he's like a 70, he's like a 83 overall. And, JT, if he was in the game, was probably be a 93, but the thing that sucks about the game is you can't edit any players. So you can edit guys, but you can't change their numbers. So you can't make a guy to turn into JT. You can't put a 44 JT Tuimoloau out there, which again, I think that has something to do with the likeness thing because, with the old games, you could turn anybody into anybody and you could create players and, the customization was just 1,000 times better. And again, if they just put in the old customization, then this game would probably be like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It's not it's not super fun to play. The recruiting is boring and tedious. The gameplay is just too. It's just like impossible to play defense, basically. But that's what football games are. There's always like glitchy plays, and that's what Madden is. I mean, it's not a complete copy of Madden, but I will say that Ohio State's playbook is pretty hilarious because it's Chip Kelly's playbook. So there's all kinds of crazy formations. Like there's tackle over, there's 4 into the bound. Like it's all these wackadoos. They've got the T formation that he did in the spring game as one of our formations. So kudos to EA. They gave us Chip Kelly's all of his wacky plays, and like I said, I like that part. There's just a lot of stuff that, I mean, like I said, if you could just edit the rosters, and the two big things they got to do is they got to make it so that you can edit the rosters, and they got to make it so that you can edit the recruits. Because if somebody literally sat there and made like the true recruiting class for this year, that would be awesome. Because I think that's a feature that they have. Like in Madden, you can edit the draft classes, so you can make, if you want to make, whoever, you could put them into the next draft, but you can't do that on here. So I give it a 5 out of 10. I wish it was higher. I mean, I had high hopes for it. I played it the first day early release. I haven't played it since. I'm sure I'll dive back into it, but Ohio State is, they're unbelievable in the game. Unbelievable. So there's my review. Nevada, any final thoughts? We'll wrap this thing up.
No, just I'm excited. I'm excited to see the impact of technology. I know I've said it before, but these helmet comms thing, man, I just think this is going to be one of the really, I think it's been an underreported story going in, and I think it's probably going to be one of those kind of emerging stories throughout the years. Who can use helmet comms the best, and who can kind of excel at that right off the thing? Because that is such a big change to college football. In the NFL, we're used to it because it's always been there, and you're communicating with multiple people, and also college, it's never been done before. So this is all a brave new world, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Ohio State uses it through fall camp and into when the games start counting. So I'm super excited about it and can't wait.
Do you think Chip Kelly stays on the sideline for the whole season?
Man, I probably because he wants to and he's used to it. But does it make sense to me? No, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't know how anybody can call plays from the sideline. And you've done a really good job of laying out a lot of guys that do it, and not only do it, but do it while being the head coach, which to me seems like an impossible amount of work and things to monitor. And guys do it and do it at a very high level. So I don't understand it. But if Chip does that now, maybe because they can have all these other guys, maybe they can supplement it with more people than they ever had before up in the booth. And I'm not sure how that works with who can be on the headsets, and now because the rules, it seems like it's kind of the Wild West now. So maybe things have changed enough on that he can get support staff from up top that makes it worthwhile for him to do it and use the iPad or whatever the Surface Pros or whatever they're using on the sidelines, and so maybe there's a benefit to him being down there that I hadn't really considered.
Yeah, we got another super chat. ZZM, appreciate you, my man. ZZM, you asked, where the heck is regular season? I play in the game. I don't want to coach. I don't want to create a player. I just want to play the season. Nevada OH. The only way to do that is you have to do dynasty mode. So if you don't want to create a coach, just use the de facto coach, which is like supposed to be like Ryan Day. It looks nothing like Ryan Day. Obviously, they can't use his likeness. So I'm surprised they didn't try to get the coaches likenesses. That would have been hilarious, because I know that there's people that would be dying to fire Ryan Day on day one, which would be hilarious. Because people, they want to be control freaks, but Ryan does a good job. But it'd be funny to put the coaches in the game and go get Kirby Smart to coach, Texas A&M or whatever. That'd be hilarious. So yeah, you start a dynasty, and that's where the season mode is. So knock yourself out. I actually removed Akron week 1 and played Georgia in the horseshoe. So that was fun. That was dynamic. They were like really hard to beat. I played it on, I don't play on Heisman, I play on All-American, but it's gritty. Like I'm not throwing too many passes late over the middle, man, because they picked off a couple of them. So I was like, I'm gonna stick to these touch passes and just running Trey Henderson and Quinshawn because that got it done, baby. We beat the Bulldogs week 1 instead of the Akron Zip, so immediately became the number 1 team in the country. So that was kind of cool. All right, Nevada. Anything else? Wrap this thing up.
No, just I'm gonna say this is not a political comment, but it was funny, and I had to just say it because it was really funny. It was I heard the head of the Secret Service talk about how they couldn't put somebody on that roof because it was sloped and it was dangerous. And then Rob O'Neill, the guy that killed Bin Laden's like, good thing Bin Laden didn't have a sloped roof. I don't know why that just cracked me. I just laughed so hard when I read that. It was like I just don't have any words. I just don't have any words, man.
Like they seriously let someone go on TV and say that from the Secret Service. We couldn't put someone on a sloped roof. Really?
The head of the Secret Service said that it was too dangerous. Like, what are you talking about?
But some nerdy guy who's now burning in heck. Some nerdy guy's able to crawl up there, belly crawl with a rifle and set up shop.
You understand that was the least sloped roof in the history of roofs too.
It was nothing to it. Like that kid wasn't some like Marine, like sniper, like jarhead. That guy was literally he was like some nerd,
Oh, God.
I don't know.
A dead nerd.
Seriously. This last one, Nevada, I think for the Deuce, Nevada, what have you heard about the Connor Stalions doc? I've heard nothing about it, but that would be amazing. I don't think that would ever see the light of day. There's no chance in a million years. But
I mean, who knows? I mean, they could make it a 30 for 30. I can see that where he tries to present himself as like the the aggrieved party and this and that. I mean, I'd love it if he'd ever. He won't do it, but I mean, the juicy thing would be if he just turned state's evidence and really told the whole story about what really happened on that. Then that'd be something worth watching. But the sanitized, I did it by myself and nobody knew anything version. Yeah, it's all a lie. So I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I will say that the other night I got hit up by one of the guys that founded Bishop Sycamore High School. And they said that they're going to run it back and do another one. And I was like, seriously? After all the trouble you guys got in and all the craziness? And they're like, oh, yeah, we got Hulu, like HBO wants to do another documentary and Hulu wants to do a reality show on it. And I'm like, we'll see. And I'd known the guy. I'm not going to name him, but I was just like, whew. Some people, I guess they don't learn their lesson, which is kind of hilarious. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Again, I appreciate you guys being on here. Hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we're going to be grinding all night long, getting ready for the camp. We've got the big tech upgrade is going great for BuckeyeScoop.com. So if you guys are not members, now is a perfect time to join because it's the #1 Ohio State site by far. Super active community. It's excellent. And we appreciate you guys. So again, I hope you guys have a great night. Again, if you guys can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, those are huge for us. Leave us a 5-star review. Again, that is a great way to show support for Buckeye Scoop by doing that. So thank you. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.